Momentum builds in the search for a cure for ALS. ALS, or amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, or for a long time called Lou Gehrig's disease, usually doesn't make itself known until adulthood. ALS research is happening faster than ever before. What treatment is available? What is the hope for a cure today? How folks are living with the disease? How are they doing today? Well, good morning. I'm Steve Highsmith, and welcome to In Focus. We're going to find all that out. ALS is a disease affecting parts of the nervous system which control voluntary muscle movement. The cause is unknown. There is believed to be a genetic link in at least some cases. The Muscular Dystrophy Association, or MDA, is the world leader among voluntary agencies in fighting ALS. Since the 1950s, MDA has spent about $250 million on ALS research and services for people with the illness. And that research investment has been rapidly growing, and that's why this weekend's Jerry Lewis MDA Labor Day Telethon is so important. And with me now are Tim Heiser, who lives with ALS, and his wife Jennifer, also here, and Sarah Feldman, who is a physical therapist at MDA ALS Center of Hope Clinic at Drexel University College of Medicine. Thank you again, all of you, for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Tim, you an engineer by training, are you not? Is that what you do?
Yeah.
Work at
Lockheed Martin. I sit behind a desk and do some programming and do work like that.
And Jennifer, you're by training a teacher.
Yes.
Right, a math teacher?
Mm-hmm.
So you're really smart people. Okay, well, be kind to me during all of this. And Sarah, another smart person. You've been at Drexel for a while at the MDA ALS clinic. What's a general description of what a physical therapist does at the clinic?
At the clinic, what we do is, it's a multidisciplinary team clinic, so they're actually seen by myself and the occupational therapist at the same time, and we'll go in and we'll meet with the individual and their family and talk to them about what their needs might be at the time, and you know, address their physical abilities and how they're doing. And
Tim, when did you first notice that something wasn't quite right and you had to go figure out what it was?
Back in the summer of 2005. Was the first notification that I saw something changing.
What was that?
You know, I was still trying to play softball and football, just on some work teams, and just noticing my running ability just wasn't the same as what it was the year before.
So there wasn't anything else? There wasn't any what we might see as the twitching or any of those other symptoms?
At that point, no. I mean, over the 4 years, the twitching has come on. The muscle cramps that occur are now here. I can't run any longer, so it's getting worse, but slowly progressing.
Well, if we could take a look at some of the symptoms that are somewhat common, or at least could be something that folks want to check out. When you look at that, the doctors will report that a lot of people come to them with symptoms like twitching or cramping or stiffness in the muscles or muscle weakness in an arm or a leg, even slurred or very nasally speech when they normally aren't nasal, or even difficulty chewing or swallowing. Now, obviously, these things could be symptoms of a lot of other things or any other thing, and so it's not necessarily this or something else. That's why you have to go to a medical professional. But you first noticed it because you were active in athletics, and you just noticed that something was just not quite right or slowing down, couldn't quite do what you normally could do.
That's right.
And then when you went to the doctor, did they do an immediate battery of tests on things? Was it instant, or did it take a while to figure out what was going on?
I had an onslaught of tests over probably a year and a half.
Wow.
Multiple EMGs, spinal tap, MRIs, I think a CAT scan in there, and various blood tests.
It took a year and a half.
Yep.
And did they say why it took so long? Is it because they couldn't find out what it was?
Correct. So for this, it's more they're trying to find another disease that it might be to rule out ALS. And in this case, no other disease matched, so they said it would be ALS then.
And Jennifer, all through this process, you're obviously thinking what? I mean, you're thinking, well, it could be this, it could be that. You have to have a lot of patience going through that.
Yes. And I guess we weren't even thinking ALS a year and a half ago. So when they told us this diagnosis last July, last year, it was a shock to us.
Well, Sarah, perhaps I'm mistaken on this, but I think as a rule, most of the folks that develop ALS are a little bit older than Tim is. But are we seeing some people of Tim's age, basically?
Well, it is, on average, it's a little bit older. It's in the 50s, but because it's more of like a bell curve, you're going to get people who are on either side of that as well.
I think that's a lot older, Tim. I would take that as a little bit of an
It's
insult.
20-some years older. Yeah.
I'm just kidding. But so when you deal with this and you try to work with the day-to-day therapy and all those other things that go on, do you deal with a younger person like him, as opposed to someone in their 50s or 60s, or is it all pretty much the same treatment?
It is not, it's not the same treatment, but it's not necessarily just based on their age. It's everyone who comes to our clinic is an individual, and they all present different ways. Just like you showed those different symptoms. Well, not everyone has all those symptoms at every time. So it's very individualized treatment. You know.
And Tim, once you got the diagnosis about a year and a half in or so, I had to imagine that'd be a very emotional moment when you get it. Is it a relief to know what it is, or was it a relief, or was it just, terrible to know what it is?
It's terrible, and it still is. I've got 2 young children who, you might not get to see them grow up, and that's hard, I think. Knowing that you might leave behind a family. So it's not easy hearing the news, or just bringing it up like this. So yeah, it's still difficult though.
No, it is, but as I said to you before we started and we had a nice little conversation, I really appreciate you being here, because there are so many people that are in a similar position to you, and there are others who aren't in that position who could help a lot of people by knowing that these aren't just names that are out there of a disease. They don't happen to people far, far away. They happen to people who are great people like you. And there are people working very hard to find cures. And we live in a fascinating time in which so much of what we've learned about neuromuscular diseases really has happened in the last 25 years. And the leaps and bounds that are being made, it's happening what I call exponentially. It's happening so quickly. And that's why this energy, can't let the economy that we're in right now think, well, I'll give next year, I'll give later on. This research is ongoing, and I think tens of millions, probably more than $40 million is MDA's intention over the next year or two, but they'd like to do even more than that. And they've done billions and tens of billions of dollars in the, I think, no, actually about, oh yeah, a lot over the last 55 years. I think it comes around $2 billion probably. It's amazing what's done through MDA, but this kind of thing is important. So when you on a day-to-day basis look at this, I know your 2 kids are running around the station right now. They're beautiful, Jonathan and Lindsay. You must approach it in some way where you try to handle it day to day. What do you tell yourself? You can't give up. For me, it's knowing that I can go home, I can still play with my kids, I can still get around. Lead a normal life the best you can. You almost have to forget about the disease, as otherwise, what is there to live for? So, Jennifer, when you approach this as well, do you feel they're powerless sometimes, or?
Sometimes, but I keep saying to myself that at least we know what we're dealing with now. For a couple years, we didn't know, and I think the kids make us get through life a little bit easier, like right now with everything. It is difficult. I try not to think about it every day. I'm very blessed that Tim is able to still drive his car, he still cuts our grass. We have over 3 acres. He's still able to do all that. And I think that's amazing in itself.
So he's not milking this, getting out of chores?
No, he's still doing all his stuff. But, I mean, you can't, I don't want the disease to lead our life. I want to try to just live every moment and enjoy it.
And the